So when we're in dread, right, we want to do that. We want to protect our vital organs, and it makes sense. So we put something there in order to provide that. But the other thing is, there is a tendency to go into freeze mode, right? You may have heard of fight, flight, or freeze. And we do freeze often in dread. And by having clear contact with something that we're holding on to, we reduce the tendency of freezing. And that's really important because if we want to be effective at dealing with the dread and then downgrading it, we don't want to dissociate completely because all we're doing there is fragmenting away, right? This is not a technique to use if actually right in front of you is something that you have to face and escape. That's different, right? So we're talking about a moment where you're physically safe in the moment. Okay, so you have the pillow and you're lying down like this. Okay, just like that. And you're holding on to it. If you want to hold it in a different way, you can. But you're feeling the pillow and you're feeling the touch of the pillow. I hope you can hear me. You're feeling the touch of the pillow on your abdomen. So essentially, you're protecting yourself. Now, something we don't pay a lot of attention to, and you can be lying down as I'm talking, right? You can get into that position with your pillow, is that the front of the body, especially if we're talking, you can't hear you can't hear me when I'm lying at all? No? Okay. I'm back up. This computer. All right. So I was saying that when you're in that position and hold the pillow in any way that you want. That was essentially what I was saying. Okay. Now, when you're feeling vulnerable, generally you think of the tension being here. But if you really pay attention, there is an incredible amount of tension and discomfort in the place between the scapula and the shoulder blades, right? This is where we kind of hold ourselves up from will. And when we feel that there's a weakness there or pressure, we feel unable to meet the challenge in front of us. And if you don't believe me, if you're not feeling dread right now, and I hope you're not, next time you are, try and hear what I said and pay attention to the sensations you feel at the place between the scapula. In part, that's just because your heart is beating so fast that you can feel it there. So it's physiological. And then there's the spiritual aspect to it. So what we're going to do, I realize I can't both demonstrate and have you hear me, is I want you to lay back, okay? And I'll envision I'm doing it with you. Your knees are up. You're grabbing the pillow or grasping it so you have that protection. And you're going to inhale from your nose through your abdomen to your legs, because there's this freezing response that happens in dread. And as you exhale, you're going to exhale back up the legs and out through the back of the heart. That's kind of a strange plane of focus, but that's what you're going to do. So you're going to inhale from your nose, down your abdomen, up your legs, which are bent. Exhale, back up the legs through the abdomen and out through the back of the heart. You're going to keep doing this. Now, I generally teach light Ujjayi breath, but when you have dread, you need some level of energy in that moment, and it's intense. And so your Ujjayi breath should be stronger. So it would sound more like this. For those of you familiar with Ujjayi, it's and okay, so keep doing that. And I'm going to talk to you more. There are other points, but I just want you to start with that. Inhaling Ujjayi breath from the nose to the abdomen to the legs. Exhaling Ujjayi from the legs through the abdomen out through the back of the heart. Let's keep going. Getting into a cycle. Inhaling from the nose through the abdomen to the legs. And you can actually stop at the kneecaps. Exhaling from the kneecaps up the thighs through the abdomen back through the heart. Keep going. I'm going to start to add other directions. Keep going. Now, If you're new to Ujjayi breath and you haven't done it before, it's like you're breathing from the throat rather than from the nose. It's a guttural sound, which is like this. Okay, so you're continuing to do this. Now, those of you who have worked with me before, and there are many of you on here who have done other things, you know that I talk about the power of the elongation of the exhalation. It increases the amount of information being sent by the major nerve of calming or the parasympathetic nervous system to the heart. So I want you to add this into the mix. You're inhaling from your nose through your abdomen, up your thighs to your knees, and you're exhaling from your knees through your thighs to your abdomen through the back of your heart. And that action, once it gets to the back of the heart, you're really making that breath longer, that Ujjayi breath longer, sending it through the floor and into the earth. Again, inhaling this way, Ujjayi breath, through the abdomen, up the thighs to the knees, and Ujjayi breath, back down the legs, the abdomen to the back of the heart to the earth, longer exhale. Now this breath, as I noted, is more powerful than the Ujjayi I normally teach because dread is intense and you need to meet the mood. But it should not be so strong that it gives you a headache. So if in this moment you are not experiencing dread and you feel that doing it too strongly is not helpful, then don't. Keep it lighter. Make sure you're meeting your physiological, psychological, social, spiritual needs in this moment. Okay. I'm going to be quiet for 2 minutes before I add the next direction. Just keep focusing on this. Okay, I'm going to add another direction. Now, as you inhale, I want you to actively feel, as you breathe down your abdomen, the contact of the pillow on your abdomen and in touch with the upper legs. And as you exhale, the same. I want you to exhale and actively feel the contact of the pillow on your upper legs and abdomen. And then when you breathe out the back, I want you to feel the touch of the back on the ground. So I'm asking you to rely on external sensation in order to help you to remain in the present moment. You're inhaling your strong Ujjayi breath, the abdomen, as you feel the pillow. And you exhale your strong, more elongated Ujjayi breath through the back as you feel the pillow and the touch of the back on the ground. So we have a lot in play here. It's a lot to focus on, but we get into a flow. And as you keep doing this, I'm just going to talk a little bit more. Now, what is the benefit of having the sensation of the pillow? So again, in dread, there is this tendency to dissociate and to freeze. And one of the things we need to do is to be able to maintain being present in the here and now. Because when the dread is coming from something that is not in this moment actually threatening your life, by being in the here and now, you can find more clarity and ease. And paying attention to physical sensation of the breath in amalgamation with the touch of the cushion really helps the mind to stay present. Right? The same practice would be appropriate in working with somebody with PTSD while they were having a flooding incident. But please don't take this as your training in working with trauma. You're really helping the body to be here and now. And in that moment of dread, what you're doing is allowing the brain enough alternative inputs, the breath, the elongated breath, the imaginal, and the sensory, in order that it can start to calm down. And in a moment of dread that has arisen, you probably need a good 20 minutes to go from, I'm not going to be okay, and everything's going to fall apart too. I can bear to move and face the next moment. And in absence of having any dread, you are still providing a whole host of inputs to the brain that are going to help it to reorganize and to work in a very integrative fashion that's healthy. So if you had a sorry about that. If you had a happy-go-lucky day, it still benefits you, this practice. And again, I'm going to go into silence, letting you do this for the next 5 minutes, but I want to just add one more detail. The benefit of having a pet is that you can feel them breathing on you while you're breathing. So if any of you have a pet that would stay passively, it augments the effects that you would have with a pillow, but that's probably less likely. But I hope it makes sense as to why. So I'm going to guide you one more time with my words through one more breath, and then I'm going to leave you for 5 minutes to do it in silence. Every time you go away from the breath, just come back to what you're doing, which is inhaling relatively strong Ujjayi breath through the nose, down the abdomen while you feel the sensation of the pillow, moving all the way to the thighs and to the kneecaps. Exhaling elongated Ujjayi breath down the legs through the abdomen and out through the back onto the floor. And I'm going to practice with you now for the next 5 minutes in silence. If you have any questions, you can always let me know. Okay, so now we move to the next stage. So generally, if you've been doing something like this for this long, you've been doing it for 15 minutes, there is a shift in the brain, and it's time to use that to our advantage. So what we're going to do is stop grasping the pillow at the sides and let the hands be free of the pillow, right? It's telling the body we're not as threatened, but we're still keeping that contact. And we're going to keep the Ujjayi breath going, but we're going to rely on another insight from neuroscience and yoga combined to help us. So we're going to do a little bit of Kirtan Kriya, slightly modified. If you don't know what it is, that's irrelevant. I want you to start by the next Ujjayi breath, inhaling, touching your thumb and pinky finger together, and exhaling, touching your thumb and index finger together. Inhale, touching your thumb and middle finger together. Exhale, touching your thumb and your pointer finger together. Inhale, touching your thumb and pointer finger together. Exhale, touching your thumb to your middle finger. Inhale to your ring finger. Exhale to your pinky. Inhale to your pinky. Exhale to your ring finger. Inhale to your middle finger. Exhale to your pointer finger. And you can do this much more slowly. Inhale into your pointing finger. Exhale into your middle finger. Inhale into your ring finger. Exhale into your pinky. So you're still lying there. The pillow is still on your abdomen, and you're breathing in and breathing out with contact between the thumb and the fingers. I see someone has a question. You have to write it in the chat because I can't answer verbally when I'm teaching. You have to put it in the chat if you have a question. You should be lying back to do this. The idea is that you're still in that place. And if any additional visualization helps you, go with it. Allow your mind to be the guide. Techniques like this, many of the other things I've taught you, I haven't learned from anybody. That's based on 25 years of practice. And if you are struggling with anxiety intensely today or dread, and I'm doing this and your body is telling me to come back to the former step, listen. Otherwise, stay with me here. And if you get bored, and that's just the mind wanting something else, right? When actually what you're doing is cultivating it. So don't listen. Just keep going. When you're feeling dread in real life, it's almost impossible to be bored. All you want is relief. So the drive to practice something that will relieve that experience is high. Just going to do this for one more moment. We're going to change to the last stage. Okay, once you get back to your pinky finger, allow the hands to come down to the sides, but don't rush. The idea is that you are slowly returning yourself to the present moment and to the knowing that you are safe, even if you're frightened. And so you open up the position a little bit more now, right? And so the pillow can come off, right? You can take the pillow away. I know I can't lie down and you hear me, which is challenging for me because I think as I'm doing it myself somewhat. And now the idea is that if you are able in that moment of dread, and you have to decide if you are, you lift the arms up overhead onto the floor behind you. Now, why do you do this? Don't do it sitting up, because then it's just an action of working out the shoulders. It's lying down, because you're moving from a position of crouching and of fear to really opening the body, to saying, I'm safe now. Your knees can still be up, but your arms are up overhead. And in this last stage, continuing the Ujjayi breath, inhale from the nose, down the abdomen, all the way up through the legs, the knees to the toes. And as you exhale, exhale from the toes, up the legs, up the abdomen, and again through the lower back. And we're going to do this for the next 8 minutes as the last part of the practice. We're doing this with the arms up overhead on the floor behind you, lying down. Inhaling from the nose, through the abdomen, through the legs, past the knees into the toes. And exhaling from the toes, through the knees to the abdomen, out the back. And if at any time in the dread, because this is a practice for when you can't bear it, you feel that having an open position isn't working for you, you scale back, you bring back the pillow. You start at stage 1 again. You don't rush. And in dread, you wouldn't anyway. You would do what you could bear. If the mind goes away, just bring it back. This is your focus. And if any of you like more of the imaginal, if it's helpful, you can actually imagine the breath as a light. There are different colors. I generally use this pristine kind of turquoise light for my imagery around this stuff. So you can call on that if you want, or you might have a different color light if that works for you. An imagery like sensation, like breath, like elongating the breath, again, conspire to activate various portions of your brain that are not activated during dread. Or maybe, in the world of energy work, you're actually changing your field. You can think in that way as well. We can see these things for so many different vistas: science, spirituality, as you feel open to. got 4 more minutes. Keep focusing. Imagine those nights in bed where you can't get to sleep because your mind is eating you alive. And what do? You do things like this. My meditation teacher used to say to me, never waste a moment of fear in the evening, thinking that if only you got to sleep, it would be okay. Use every moment as part of your spiritual practice. It's so much less important that you get to sleep than that you train your mind in those moments. And it was great advice because actually when I would focus on training my mind rather than getting to sleep in the midst of terror in my mind, I'd fall asleep anyway. He knew that. He was very wise. So don't worry about insomnia. We just have about a minute left. If your mind has gone somewhere else, try to bring it back. Try to really be with the breath. You're training either yourself for this moment now where you're struggling or your future self that will be struggling. You're giving yourself that gift of skills. A moment where you want to call somebody to fix it, but nothing that they say you can even hear because you're so lost in the fear. And you need a memory of how to work with it. Take just one more Ujjayi breath. And then allow the breath to return to whatever it wants to do. I want you to take stock. Keep your eyes closed if you can, because this is very much an internal experience, right? If you can, avoid taking in the external, just momentarily. If you can, just notice how you feel after having done this. But this is my technique. The question is, how does it sit in you? How do you feel? What does your body want? Ask it that question from a place of real integrity. What does it want? What does your body want? How do you need to breathe in the next moment? Right? How do you need to breathe? What kind of breath is your body asking for? And we're going to just have a brief meditation together for the last 4 minutes before Q&A. If you feel that you need to stay where you are, then do. If you feel empowered to sit upright and to complete the meditation sitting upright, go ahead. But try not to open your eyes because, there's nothing to see. There's nothing different. And the meditation is simply to watch breath, to feel your natural inhale and your natural exhale. And generally, although we're all different, having spent time on breathing, focusing on sensations through the body, including finger movements, you are likely to almost feel like your whole body's breathing. And just allow that to be the case for you. Your whole body is breathing, or wherever you feel the breath. If the mind goes out to other things, just bring it back to the breathing body. Bring it back. And now tell yourself that you are soon coming to the end of this formal practice. And thank yourself for taking this time. And as and when you're ready, if you wish to do so, you can open your eyes. And I'm going to stop recording for the Q&A, and I have a few announcements as well.